You're watching the Ocean Lab live from Antarctica, and we are so excited to have some very special guests on our show today, and this session will be featuring some very incredible female scientists. Hosted by Michael Carvalho and featuring Doctors Angel Yanagihara, Dr. Petra Lenz, and Dr. Vittoria Roncalli. We'll also be hearing from photogrammetrist and cinematographer Evan Kovacs.
Hello everyone, welcome to Antarctica. You're with us today from the driest, coldest, windiest place on Earth. I'd like to ask everybody to take 2 big, deep breaths. One of those breaths was brought to you by plankton, phytoplankton to be specific. These are tiny little animals, little plants that live down here and around the world, and they make the air that we breathe possible. My name is Mike Carvalho, and I'm an environmental attorney. I'm interested in how science can make laws and policies to make the world a better place. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the science team we have here with us. We're part of an expedition team called POLES. And before we get into the scientists that we'll be talking to today, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Treaty of Antarctica in the United Nations. There are 3 parts to the treaty that are really interesting to know about. The first is called Article 1. Article 1 dedicates the continent of Antarctica to peace. Article 2 dedicates it to the exploration of science. And Article 3 talks about sharing that science. And those are the things that we're going to be doing today. We'll be sharing the science with all of you. Peace, science, and sharing. It's a great way to get along. Our expedition today is the 150th birthday of the Challenger expedition. The Challenger expedition was down here and discovered over 4,000 different species, and much of the science that was done then is still being used today. It helps us understand how the world is changing and lets us build upon the scientific efforts of others. It is my great privilege to be part of the Explorers Club. The Explorers Club is a unique club of firsts. The first to the moon, the first to the North Pole, the first to the South Pole, and the first to the deepest parts of the ocean and the tallest mountains on Earth. It's a privilege to be in the Explorers Club, and we have the added privilege of carrying an Explorers Club flag. This flag is over 100 years old. It has been on many expeditions to the North and South Pole, and our team leader, Dr. Angel Yanagihara, has been able to get one of these flags to represent the Explorers Club on this expedition. To better understand the changing environment down in the poles, and particularly in Antarctica, we've put together some great scientists that are going to tell you about the experiments that we've been doing down here and some of the work that we've been doing out of our ribs off the vessel Ortelius. Dr. Angel?
Thank you very much, Mike. I am a professor at the University of Hawaii, and I have been studying over 25 years different organisms that live in the oceans. One of the most interesting and fascinating organisms that live in our oceans is shown here. You can see these little golden, flashy, looks like almost light bulbs in this highly structured diatom. The walls of it are actually made of a type of glass, silica, which is made by these organisms. They use these little tiny golden nuggets essentially to take sunlight and to make sugars from that. They also take carbon dioxide and make oxygen. So these are the very basic foundational organisms that make all life on Earth possible. These phytoplankton, also called diatoms, and they actually form the food that the other animals eat, animals that we can see and animals that are too tiny to see. So we have joined together with scientists who study the tiny microscopic animals called zooplankton, and we've come here to Antarctica to do this project, which is a flag expedition from the Explorers Club, flag number 44, and the name of our project is POLS, Plankton Observation of Life Cycles and Ecobiomes. What's an ecobiome? That basically is all your neighbors. So if you can imagine where you live in your neighborhood, and you have a grocery store, you have a place to go to school, and in your school you have a lunch line. Every day you go to lunch, you choose some food. How do the rest of the animals in the animal kingdom choose their food? You're used to thinking about the oceans being the place where huge, magnificent animals live, like whales. But when you break it down, what do whales eat? And what do the things that whales eat, etc., etc. As you go down, each of them has their own little lunch line. And essentially, at the very base of that are the primary producers, the ones who take sunlight and carbon dioxide and make food for the rest of the planet. So we're here in Antarctica studying this complex food web so that we can learn more about it, and we can have data from which we can detect if there are major changes and there are catastrophic things happening. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Petra Lenz and Dr. Vittoria Roncalli, who are experts in their field of zooplankton, and we'll show just briefly a copepod, Katie, to show you what this tiny little zooplankton looks like, and they'll speak to how we capture them and study them in this unique environment, which is Antarctica.
Well, hello everyone. I am Petra Lenz. I'm also from the University of Hawaii, and I feel really privileged to be here and be able not only to talk to you, but also to study this remote environment. One of the cool things about coming on a ship like this is that it's not a regular expedition, but it's an expedition that takes us to some very remote and very small areas that really rarely are ever studied or collected or studied, particularly the phytoplankton and the zooplankton. And so what Vittoria and I have done is that we bring our net with us in order to collect our animals. And I'll let Vittoria
First of all, we have to drop on a zodiac. First of all, we have to get a lot of clothes on. It almost take 10 minutes. We look like little Teletubbies. And this is important because, Antarctica is a very variable environment. So you may go out, it may be super sunny, but like a couple of minutes, things change. So these tiny Teletubbies go on the zodiac, that's what we are. And we use a very old system that is kind of like a fish net, but I guess you are familiar with fishing. The frame is really small, and the idea is to drop basically the net in the water and to catch the tiny organisms that we've been talking about. So we drop the net, and then we start towing the net with our zodiac. It has to be really slow. You have a long line, and then at the end of that, all the water will get in it, and then we collect at the end, the sample down here. Then after that, what do we do?
Well, after that, we put it in a little jar and we bring it back into the lab and we start processing it. What do we mean by that? Well, we're actually using genetic molecular techniques, genetic barcoding, in order to find out who is all in this water. And the phytoplankton here is so large that we actually get both the phytoplankton and the zooplankton in the same collection. However, one of the big things about working in this ocean is that we do want to know more about the environmental variables. What does the environment look like? What's the temperature? What's the salinity? What else is going on in the environment? And for that, we have very modern technology. And what I will do is I will introduce you to Evan Kovacs, who is going to tell you a little bit more about the sensory systems. sensors that we use.
So this is a little sensor package that we put together, and what it does, it part of it is what's called a CTD, so conductivity, temperature, and depth. So this little device right here, this tells us what the conductivity is, which ultimately tells us how salty is the water. Can you drink it? Probably not, but this will tell us just how salty it is, which is also important because we're right near all these glaciers that are melting, so it's a mixing zone. This sensor will tell us dissolved oxygen, so how much oxygen is in the water. This tells us pH, and ultimately that's what our little sensor package does. Now, I don't get to interpret it. I just build this stuff, and then I give it to the real scientists here. But hopefully it gives everybody just a little bit more data to make good, important decisions.
Oh, and do you know, I mean, should we show how we put that on?
Sure, yes. We actually we fashioned this initially to go for scuba divers to be able to wear it. So it has a little clamp right here, so you could clamp it onto your tank. But we realized that we can put this on the net very easily, like so, and boom, it sits right above. All the plankton still comes in and works around it. And what we actually do is we tie it up a little bit higher. But this way, everybody can, we can still get our data, and we get it right from where the plankton are coming into the net. And that's what our sensors do.
So basically what we want to know is, like, with the net, is like who is in the water, how they're doing, and basically are they starving, are they, just they're totally fine, are they reproducing, are they, I don't know, are they stressed, are they sick? So that's our ultimate goal. And then with those environmental data, we want to just put all the things together.
Yes, and that is where we use this very old technology, the net, and we combine it with really very new technology. One of them is the sensors, as Evan just showed to you, and the other one is what Vittoria here, Dr. Vittoria, has been touching on, and that is that we can use these molecular techniques to get an index of wellness. And that is really very novel. And that is a field that's called transcriptomics. That's a big name, but basically it's an indicator whether the animals are doing well or not so well in a place. And we just feel so privileged that we're able to do this work in this very remote place.
And we are in Antarctica. It's pretty cool. During these rides, we see whales, we see penguins. What else would we see?
Beautiful birds and seals.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Yes, and it all started with me, by the way. For those of you who are in high school, is that I was in 9th grade and I went to a marine station, and what they showed me under a microscope was phytoplankton. And from there on, it just was a straight line from there to college, to graduate school, to postdoc, and then to do my own research in cool places such as Antarctica.
You even teach me.
And yes, yeah. And I have students, former students who are now professors.
I came down here in 2018 to do some scuba diving, and I met my friend Angel, Dr. Angel, down here, and we got to talking and sharing science, and I was fascinated by the work that she did. And then Angel introduced me to Dr. Petra and Dr. Vittoria.
And how we know each other?
Yeah, this is where our story is an interesting one, because I was invited to give a lecture, a 2-day lecture series in Europe, in Germany, to teach students about molecular techniques. And I met an Italian professor, Dr. Ianora, a very famous professor. As a matter of fact, she wrote some of the books about the copepods here in Antarctica, and from there, she was very interested in the kind of work that I was trying to do, and I was trying to get funding for it. I finally got some funding, and I got this email
from me,
from Vittoria Roncalli, saying, "I would like to do research in your lab. I would like to get my PhD from your lab." And I said, "Yes, I can take you. But I don't know what we're doing, because we are really going to be pushing some new technology." People had not used these molecular techniques that we're using today on copepods before we really started with this.
Well, that worked out. It was 13 years ago. So yeah, pretty much, yeah. It's a successful collaboration, I would say.
Yes.
We have a question from someone in the audience watching, and Dancing Dragonflies, who I believe is a teacher, would like to know how many people are at your research facility.
Well, we are actually in a research unit. It's called the Pacific Biosciences Research Center, and we have about 30 researchers associated with it. Some of them who've been there for quite a long time, but right now it's sort of in a place of growth, and so we're adding a lot of faculty, including we're recruiting some right now to work on cool things like zooplankton and microbes and other small things.
Well, my research institution, which is Stazione Zoologica in Naples, so Italy, it has around 100, in between 100 and 150 researchers. We are pretty much spread out around Italy. We have different locations, so that's, yeah.
One of the great things about the science that's being done here as part of this project is to be able to share that science. And that science will be shared with the United Nations so that countries all around the world can benefit from the work that's being done here so we can have a better place for all of us to live. We are welcome to take some questions. Do we have any folks that want to know about Antarctica? It's pretty rainy, and it was rainier earlier today, and then it started snowing, and then the penguins started swimming with us. They were very entertaining. We had some leopard seal sightings today, which were terrific.
Oh, there were a bunch of them.
Little penguins like this swimming through the water with the boat. That was the little ribs. We go out on inflatable zodiacs. And these are just absolutely adorable. They seem to always have something on their mind when they're walking around. They waddle.
They do smell a little bit, though.
They
do smell.
It is they're very cute, but they smell.
They smell.
And they're kind of loud.
Can everyone share your favorite creature here and why it's your favorite creature, and pass the mic down if you wish?
Oh, I am totally biased. My favorite creature are the small ones, and this is my first introduction to Antarctic krill, and they're absolutely adorable.
No, I love them. I cannot get, they're so cute. I have, the house is full of them, and actually in my house I have a big statue like that is a penguin, and I got that 5 years ago because Antarctica has always been my dream. His name is Jerry, so I live with him back home, so I'm just, penguins for me are the best.
I've had the good fortune of going to the Arctic Circle and to go scuba diving up there and to see polar bears in the wild and some really interesting animals, walruses, but I've got to be partial to the penguins too. They're my favorite. They're adorable.
They're cute when they walk like this,
They walk like this. They actually have really long legs, which is something I've learned on this expedition. Who knew that? It looks like the little feet stick out from the bottom. They go all the way up almost to their little wings. And they have knees. I did not know that penguins have knees.
Well, my favorite organism in Antarctica is actually microscopic, the diatoms. They're absolutely beautiful and all kinds of different structures. So hopefully we can share with you all some micrographs. While on board the ship, I have been taking micrographs every day, and I have 2 microscopes that I brought with me so that I could take high resolution images. And the design and the structure of these tiny little basically glass type organisms, if we can go back to that slide with the golden nuggets in it. So in the background there is just one type of diatom, but I have seen over 20 different types of diatoms while on board this expedition and taking everyday observations and photomicrographs of the samples that we've been getting. So this little cup that you see here with this hazy kind of brownish golden stuff at the bottom, when you look in a microscope, they're actually tiny little remarkable structures made of silicon, of glass, that hold those golden nuggets, and they're all different shapes and sizes. So the microscopy here is unbelievable. It's really remarkable to see these animals that play such an important role in our planet's oxygen, and to see them and their diversity. So that's what I've enjoyed the most.
We were diving the other day on some icebergs, And the foundation of life down here is krill. Everybody seems to eat krill, whether it's penguins or whales. And we have been really fortunate to see a lot of whales and to see the krill living off the around the icebergs and nibbling on the phytoplankton and the algae. It was quite extraordinary. What are the biggest and smallest animals that we see in the Antarctic Ocean? That's a great question. I think we'll start with the smallest.
Well, in terms of animals, it would be the zooplankton, and Dr. Lenz and Vittoria Roncalli can tell you which species are the smallest.
Yes, they're these two very, very tiny copepods that live here. One of them is called Onchea, and the other one is called Oithona. And what's interesting about these is that they're adapted to live here in Antarctica, but they have cousins who live throughout all of the oceans, and they're some of the most abundant copepods everywhere. However, in addition, there are some larger ones as well. All of these seem to feed on the phytoplankton, and they maybe specialize some on different types of phytoplankton, but those are the smallest animals are these little Onchea.
What about the biggest?
I think the fin whale that we saw coming across the Drake would be the largest that we've encountered.
Oh, maybe the orca.
No, fin
No,
whale.
the fin whale is
They're
bigger.
bigger? Oh,
Yes.
Our fin whales, we saw a lot of humpback whales while we've been down here. They're very exciting. They have a unique hump on their back. I live in Massachusetts, and we have whales that migrate through and they feed off of Stellwagen Bank. So it's great fun during the summertime, our summertime, in July and August, to go out and watch them feed and get big and fat and take care of their babies as they work their way up to the Arctic.
Another question has come in. Do you have to be a scientist, or can you join these expeditions to help just as a diver to assist the science?
That's a great question. We have a wonderful host. Blue Green Expeditions and Faith Ortons has put together this amazing experience for all of us. Faith and her team at Blue Green Expeditions is wonderful because they have some expeditions that have divers on them and people that are interested in studying different types of birds and lots of different activities that you don't have to be a scientist to come. In fact, having citizen science, which is one of the themes of this expedition, is to engage people and to have them come out. One of our youngest team members on the expedition is 15 years old, and he has become a really important part of our expedition experience. We're learning a lot from him. We had a lovely barbecue last night. We got to listen to his playlist.
I didn't know that was his playlist. And I'm curious to know, when you are out doing your plankton tows, are there other things that you're seeing while you're on the boat that might surprise you?
We got the humpbacks.
The humpback, we got 3 humpback whales that actually passed almost underneath the Zodiac. And you were with us that day. And that's it. And then you see penguins that just jump all over. And
But sometimes you also see the penguins feeding, and that's really interesting because they're feeding really close to the surface line.
yeah, sometimes we chase them actually. We're not in terms of chasing, but if they are feeding, there might be there is krill or there is like plankton underneath, so that could be a good place where we can dump our toes. So that could be they're a good indicator, I think.
We're learning from the penguins.
Yeah.
We saw an elephant seal that had a lot of snot coming out of his nose.
Yeah.
That was pretty
It was
interesting.
not doing well.
Well, yeah, actually the elephant seal was a female, and she didn't look so good. So that's another thing that we're doing here is taking observations. So there have been diseases in Antarctica, and we're very worried about that, and being able to document these things and understand what's going on and to try to provide better structures so that proper data can be gathered about that. So seeing that elephant seal yesterday that looked to be in somewhat distress, that is an important thing for us to share with mammalogists in other parts of the world who would like to know this kind of thing. So we've seen so many healthy animals, but from time to time we do see an animal in distress. So that's also an important part of what we're doing.
Well, I think it might be a moment to look and see what's outside the ship right now.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds great. We're going to go look outside. We have an amazing view down here. One of the most exciting things about coming to Antarctica is the ice. You see the incredible light on that ice. It's a magical thing. You've got the beautiful ice. You've got calving icebergs and glaciers and bergy bits. It's 98 to 99% of Antarctica is actually like a big cookie cake, except 98 to 99% of it is covered in frosting, and the rest of it is the cake and the cookie. You'll see on this side, there's an iceberg right there. Look how cool that is.
Beautiful.
Yes, that is very, very neat. And see the different colors of blue down at the bottom? That ice is an incredibly important part of the ecosystem down here because of the phytoplankton and the algae that live underneath it.
So I want to thank everyone so much for tuning in, and you want to give us a farewell?
Farewell. Thank you so much to our hosts, Blue Green Expeditions, the Ortelius, my teammates, my colleagues, Dr. Angel, my friend, and all of our team. It's made this a really, really important experience. We look forward to a peaceful world, a world that's based on science and sharing that science. Thank you very much. This is the Ocean Lab signing off.